Welcome to week 6. This week we're going to kick off by looking at loops a little bit more and some of the loop algorithms that you'll use quite a bit whenever you're using your Java programming, particularly some of the sums and the averages and checking for matches, finding the maximum and minimum. So take a look at those through your textbook. We have a couple of video examples this week where we're working with matching the substrings, figuring out if there's a certain set of substrings within another string. And we have two assignments where we'll work through this. The first one is called a val count. And let's walk through this one a little bit deeper so that we can figure out what's going on. I've taken the liberty to write out the program flow for this val count assignment so that you can understand the order that things need to happen in. So the first thing you'll need to do is get a word from the user. So get your scanner in there, get your variable to store that word into, and then you'll use a for loop to cycle through each letter. So you can use the name of the variable that you get from the user.length. That will tell you how many times your loop needs to run. And inside your loop, you'll then have a for statement that will check to see if the value, if the character is an A, E, I, O, U. And if they are, we'll add one to a counter variable. If the character that it's currently on is not an A, E, I, O, U, then we're just going to increase the for loop by 1, pull out that next character, and check it again. So we're only going to add 1 to the counter if it's A, E, I, O, U. After we're done cycling through the length of that string, we're going to do an if statement and check to see if counter is equal to 0. If it is equal to 0, then we're going to loop again and look for y. However, if counter is not equal to 0, we actually don't need anything else on our if statement. We don't need an else or an else if, because only if counter is 0 will we loop again. And you'll actually be able to pull that for loop that you used earlier and just copy and paste it down there inside of that body of that if statement, except instead of looking for A, E, I, O, U, you're just going to look for y this time. After that for loop is done running, you'll return the appropriate message, and that's inside of Blackboard. I didn't copy and paste that here, but basically you'll look and see what your value is in counter. Is the value in counter plus the value in y counter, are those both 0? That means there's no vowels. If the value in counter is greater than 1, then that tells you that there's something in it, there's an AEIOU. You should be able to write a really efficient if statement because you understand how they exit out. So I would write the one for AEIOU first, then write the one for y, and then maybe write the one if they're both empty. And like I said, you should be able to figure out an efficient if statement to return that appropriate message. After completing the val count assignment, we're going to look at the keywords break and continue and how those alter our program flow. And we'll implement one of those inside of an assignment called val found. And you can actually just take pieces from your val count, and whenever you find a val, instead of adding one to the counter variable, you can either break or continue out of there once you figure out what the appropriate keyword is that you need to use. Do take a look at this. This one does have a master sentinel value loop, so you want to make sure that you address that and make sure that you don't take exit, the keyword exit, through your val found program. We don't care if there's vowels in the word exit. Whenever we find the word exit, we want to exit out of the program. Our next topic this week is nested loops. A real quick example. We're not going to get too deep into this because we don't use it a lot inside of day-to-day Java programming, but it is something that you need to know about, be familiar with, and we're just going to create this simple multiplication table in an assignment so that you can practice using a nested loop. Our third topic for the week are random numbers. 2 ways to generate random numbers. First off, I show you the way your textbook has you do it and an example of that. And then I wanted you to make sure that you're familiar with the random number class. So use the random number class to actually create this program because it is easier to understand and it's easier for other programmers to understand what's going on as well because they'll know what the random class is. They may not know what your formula is for finding random numbers if they're not familiar with it every day. So use the random number class whenever you complete this assignment. 2 documents here. I debated on creating a video for this. I opted not to because this link here does a really nice job of explaining how to create it, how to use it, and taking into consideration some of those special scenarios where we need a number between 0 and a high number, or we need a number between 1 and a high number, and whether we include that high number on the end or not. So this one-shot document really does a really nice job of explaining it all. The last thing we have going on this week is a midterm, and I realize it's week 6. It's really not midterm per se, but we're going to knock this out this week so that we're ready to move forward. There are 3 activities inside of this midterm review folder. where you can practice using the different things that you'll use to actually create the midterm. So if you can knock these out and understand what's going on, you're going to do great on the midterm. There are the answers to or the potential answers, I guess, to those 3 sample problems. And this just contains a real quick list that you can look through to make sure that you understand all those topics inside of that, or for that midterm review. Whenever you're ready to take that midterm review, you've got 90 minutes to do so. And you can just click on this link. Here's a little heads up on what you can do to save yourself a little bit of time so that you don't have to create the Java file. You've already got it, created it, and you've already got your name in the comment, and you've already got your public static void main. You are welcome to use your books, your notes, any programs, the internet. You can Google things. You can't use a classmate. You can't use somebody else's work, but you're welcome to use all those components to complete this exam. But remember, you only have 90 minutes to complete this exam. So you're not going to be able to Google your way through it. It will probably take you about 20 minutes if you really know what you're doing, probably 45 if you haven't been keeping up with the work, or you haven't been doing the reading or watching the videos and doing all the assignments. But I shouldn't see anybody up over that hour mark. And if I do, that's a red flag for me. So I'll be getting in touch with you. And I also talk about some of the other red flags inside the announcements area. So make sure whenever you click on that midterm link, this one right here, that you are ready to roll. After you submit the midterm this week, week 7 will go ahead and open, so you're welcome to get a head start on that. And week 7 has to do with methods, I think. Yes, methods. So you can get started on working with those, because that is such an important concept in Java. And knowing how to work with methods, create your own methods, is a very, very important component for success in learning Java. Don't wait till the last day to take that midterm. Get it knocked out early. I have, knock on wood, not had any issues with people losing connections or anything like that. So I don't anticipate any problems taking that exam and getting that submitted on time. Just usually those people who don't get it submitted on time don't really know what they're doing anyway. Well, that's all for week 6. If you have any questions, please let me know. I hope you have a fantastic week.